it's important to me to build what I'm building right now, and
Right.
um, I just don't want my own self to be in my way.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's a perfect like problem description, and I'd love to dig into that. It sounds like you're able to sit down and actually do the task, but often before that point, there's some internal resistance, and so we can explore it from that level. And then there's some resistance that comes up that has a slightly different flavor while you're actually doing it. Um, it kind of stops you dead in your tracks. And so it sounds like the stops you dead in your tracks part of it is the more strongly charged part of the problem. I wonder if you'd like to take a look at the resistance during first.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So what I like to do is like a really simple guided visualization. And so the principle here is that you can have any experience that you can think of in your mind's eye. And as you're walking through that experience, you're able to basically simulate having the exact same thoughts, having the exact same emotions, and having the exact same beliefs get triggered throughout the experience. And so, what that looks like in this case is, Wes, I would invite you to just close your eyes and get comfortable and imagine for a moment that it's a new day. You've got a video project you've got to write a long script for as your number one priority and number one task for the day. You felt a, a, a normal amount of resistance leading up to it, but you finally get to your computer or your desk or wherever it is that you naturally like to write, and you start writing and going through the motions of completing the task. And then that familiar sense of resistance comes in. And just let me know when you feel connected to that sense of resistance during writing.
I'm there.
Good. Okay. So, can you describe the feeling and where it is in your body?
Feels like a nervousness or like anxious. Um, and feels like it's in my gut.
Yeah. Just welcome that nervous anxiousness that's in your gut with some love, with some curiosity, and let's seek to understand it. And let's just start asking it questions like it's a person. So, the first question I'd invite you to ask is just, what are you trying to tell me? What do you want me to know?
I mean, on the very surface, the thing that comes up is I'm not a writer, which is it's a belief.
Hmm.
Like I want to make video, like I don't want to write, but I'm doing it because I want to make good video, you know.
My friend Forrest Wolverton runs a group called Apex Authors, and this is one of the most common beliefs that he finds actually is we can have an identity of I am not, and then like whatever it is that we want to do. I'm not a writer, I'm not a dancer, I'm not a singer, right? So so that's the immediately obvious surface level belief. And so just reconnect with that anxiousness and thank it for sharing that wisdom with you. So now with your attention on that nervous anxiousness, let's ask a different question. Just ask yourself, what's underneath that? And let any new thoughts, emotions, or beliefs pop up to the surface.
This takes too much time. It takes too much effort and energy. um it's I could be doing other things that might make my time better or easier. I don't know.
So just notice that there's a sense of this takes too much time. Yeah. And so this is a very, very common type of belief system. Um, Here are some other spellings of it that people might resonate with. This is too hard. This is taking too long. This is annoying, right? All kinds of different versions. So the language, this is That's whatever the language this is applies to whatever your attention is placed on. So when your attention is placed on the activity of writing, then the activity of writing takes too much time and there's a sense of frustration and annoyance and resistance, and it just adds extra friction. And we can literally treat that like a belief and let go of that specific sense, the sense of this takes too much time. Um, and I'm also curious, Wes, if you refocus your attention on that sensation of this takes too much time and just really connect with it, let me know when you're with it.
I'm there.
Just thank this sensation for being present with you and just ask the question again. What's underneath that?
Something came up for me, and it was adjacent to the other one, but it led me deeper. And it was, I'm not a journalist. I'm starting to delve into journalism and researching subjects, and um, I've never done that before. And then what's underneath that is, um, like I'm bad at this. Like I'm going to put a video out there and people are going to like point out that I bungled facts or whatever, and or like I'm going to um tell a story that's not totally relevant, like it's just not going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a really cool illustration of how, notice how if we just keep asking what's underneath that, what's underneath that, what's underneath that, that we start getting to stuff that's more core. So let's try the sense test on some of these things and see if we can make any observations or patterns. Um, let's start with nonsense first. What happens if you say, I'm bad at counting cucumbers?
I'm bad at counting cucumbers. Well, I'm actually very good at counting cucumbers,
Uh,
so
it doesn't land. Okay. That's good to know. What happens if you say, I am not a baboon's coconut?
I am not a baboon's coconut. Nothing there.
All right, no emotional charge. What happens if you say, I am not a writer?
I am not a writer. It feels uneasy.
Yeah, there's a sense of uneasiness. And so let's compare that. It sounds like that's like a maybe a 3 or a 4 out of 10. It's not like crazy charge, but there is something there. What happens if we compare that to I am not a journalist?
I am not a journalist. I mean that feels like real. That feels like legitimately that's the truth.
So less of an emotional charge, but a sense of truth,
Yes.
right? So this is the difference between a belief making logical versus emotional sense for those watching. Notice that some of these beliefs are tied to specific sensations, like the sensation of uneasiness, and others just seem factually true. Like, I am not a journalist. The sky is blue. Like, that's how life is. The good news is both of these are just beliefs, and you can let them go. And when you let go of I'm not a writer and I'm not a journalist, those identities are no longer constricting your limitless potential of what you can choose to be in any given moment. And I want to test something. This is just an intuition. Do you notice anything if you say, I am not what I want to be?
I am not what I want to be. Yeah, that's not I don't know how to describe that, but it feels like this constant thing
Yeah.
that I've been doing. Like I've been putting lots of effort into learning video and getting good at video.
Yeah.
And then like each thing I try, like I have some successes and I have a lot of failures, you know, and it starts to feel over time like I'm just like wasting my time, like we were talking about before this meeting started.
Mhm. So thank you for sharing that. And what did I do there? Well, I just generalized the the language so that we could capture the real essence of the concept of the pattern that Wes is facing. It's not like you can go through, I'm not a writer, and I'm not a journalist, and I'm not a wrestler, and I'm not a golfer, and I'm not a this, and I'm not a that. But in many cases, our beliefs are actually like installed into the psyche with generalized language. That's why people have the core belief of I am not good enough. And notice it's not I'm not good enough at um, making coffee. I'm not good enough at throwing footballs. It's I am not good enough. Period. End of story. In the totality of my being, always and forever. So a lot of our core beliefs get stored with generalized language, and that's why they show up in every single environment. They show up when we go to the gym, they show up in our relationships, they show up in our professional life, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's how I had the thought to try generalizing that. So there's some disconnect here. There's some identity of I am not what I want to be. I am not that. Um, and it sounds like that one had a bit stronger charge. Is that right?
Yes,
And does that feel pretty core to you?
it does. It feels like a common theme
Yeah.
also.
Well, I wonder if that's something that you might want to take a look at letting go of today.
I'm all about it.
All right, cool. Okay. So in every process, I always ask for consent explicitly first, right? Like, if is that something you want to keep or let go of? We respect the sovereignty of the individual. It's always your choice what to believe or what not to believe. So Wes has made the choice to let it go. And now the question becomes, is there any part of you, Wes, for any reason that wants to hold on to that story?
Nope. I'm ready to let it go.
Okay, great. And we always ask that question because you'd be really, 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 really surprised how often there's some inner child part or some younger past part of our psyche that is like, actually, fuck letting that go. I want to keep that forever. It's not safe to let that go, whatever that belief happens to be. So we always use the conscious mind to intentionally probe into the subconscious and see if there are any subconscious reasons why we're holding on to it. And if Wes were to say, yeah, there is actually a little part of me that's scared, like this is our identity. What happens if we let this go? I'm afraid, common responses like that. We would love that part and we would welcome it with curiosity and we would just reason with it like an adult and help it see that it actually is safe to let the belief go. But in this case, there is no part that's holding on. And so we can move to the visual sense processing step. And it's really the visual sense and the emotional sense processing steps that result in letting go of the belief. And so the simple question, Wes, is have you ever seen with your own two eyes, I am not what I want to be?
Yeah, what I have seen is other people and even my wife like having successes and she's really like laser focused and on you know what she's doing and what she's creating and so I see her sometimes and I think like there's there's something wrong, like I should have this stuff, like um
Yeah. Wes, I feel curious. I'll comment on what you shared in a moment. What do you notice if you say the words out loud? There's something wrong with me.
there's something wrong with kind of hurts.
Yeah.
um, Feels like in the pit of my stomach. It just feels like, ugh.
Yeah. So Lion Goodman, who created the clear beliefs method, which is another really powerful technology that actually does successfully remove limiting beliefs, he says that that's one of the most common beliefs that people form. There's just a sense that there's something fucking wrong with me. Um, there's all kinds of different reasons why that can come up. And just notice that, like, as you do discovery work and as you process through a belief, you'll often encounter other ones, and you can treat them all the exact same way. They're all just a choice. Do you want to keep it or do you want to let it go? And for the purpose of seeing this one process through to completion, we'll just keep going along the lines that we're going. So you were alluding to, you already kind of have an understanding of how the process works because you've experienced it before. And once you experience it directly, then you have gnosis. You have knowledge and understanding through experience, which is not the same thing as knowledge because I read it on paper. It's a different kind of understanding. So there's an image in your mind's eye, the image of my wife is successful and laser focused at what she's doing. And that means I am not what I want to be. However, you're in control of what that means. So when you look at that image, Wes, of your wife being really successful, laser focused at what she wants to build, do you see your wife or do you see I am not what I want to be?
Yeah, I definitely see my wife there.
Right. So, in effect, when you ask that question, do I actually see the experience or do I see the belief? And you realize, oh, I see the experience. I just see the image in my mind's eye. I don't see the belief. That breaks the agreement that we made when we said this image has this specific meaning. And it's all within our control. We're the ones making it up every time. And so when we say, nope, this image does not mean I am not what I want to be, then suddenly it doesn't carry that meaning anymore. It's just a choice.
I feel like the imagery is probably the easiest one for me to like disconnect from
Right.
initially. It's usually when I get to the experience part where I
Yeah.
get like all mixed up.
Yeah. 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 Cool. And so before we get there, are there any other images in your mind's eye, any other memories or experiences that are still tied to I'm not what I want to be?
No, I think that that's the main one that sticks in my head.
Got it. Do you feel like that's been disconnected?
Yes.
Cool. So
I think
now,
in some ways it's been like pre-disconnected from this because of this process. It's like it's already something I've been able to disconnect from.
thank you for that. That's exactly right. Because the more that you practice, the more that it's just ingrained as an understanding of like, oh, I am actually fully sovereign and in control of what everything means. Oh, of course, nothing I've ever seen actually meant that. I don't agree with that. I don't want that. So good on you, man. That's a progress.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like meditation in action, being aware that you are aware.
that, yeah. Okay. So now the question becomes, have you ever felt like I'm not what I want to be?
Literally today,
Yep.
um, I pushed
Yep.
through it. I've been writing this video for a couple weeks now, and um, it's been hard. But I finally finished writing it today, and
Mhm.
at one point I walked away, and then I came back and I was able to finish it. But I still feel like this thing comes up for me pretty consistently, and it stops me from writing. So I'm gonna get back into this headspace.
Yeah, just connect with the feeling of it and just welcome that feeling of I'm not what I want to be. Just welcome it with love, with curiosity, and let me know when you're with it.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. So How would you describe this feeling? Where does it live in your body?
I feel like some sadness in my gut, but then in my head I feel anger.
And this next question is optional, but I find it helpful to build self-awareness. Just tune into that anger and get curious towards it. And just ask that anger, what are you trying to tell me?
This sucks. It's hard. And what's the point? Why am I trying so hard?
Just thank that anger for sharing that. And now that this anger has been heard, the real question is, does this anger in your head truly mean I am not who I want to be?
No,
Oh, are you sure?
100%.
Great. And when we ask that question, Wes, what do you notice in your experience? Do you notice a disconnect? Do you notice a moving of the energy? How does that work for you?
I feel like it appeases the anger a little bit.
Yeah.
Because like in 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 when left unchecked, it just keeps building and building and building. And actually like disconnecting that feeling from the belief kind of diffuses the situation a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean,
Excellent.
I've spent a lot of my life like trying to hide from emotions, and
Mm,
um, it's only been over the past couple years that I've been realizing that that's when they have like the most power is when you're trying to ignore
yep. Yeah,
them.
the irony is not lost on me in my life. Yeah. uh, okay. Excellent, excellent work. Thank you for sharing that. So now let's connect to the sadness that's in the gut, the sadness of I am not who I say I am. Let me know when you're with it.
I'm there.
And again, this question is optional, but to build some self-awareness, what is this sadness trying to tell you?
Just I'm just tired.
Just
I'm
tired.
tired.
Yeah. I'm curious, actually, if you're open to going a little deeper. What, tired of what? Just ask it. What are you tired of?
Tired of being small. There have been these times where I feel like I put so much effort into my work and it doesn't feel like it's getting me anywhere. And the motivation to like just keep at it and just keep going, it just wears me down. And I just feel like I just feel like worn out.
Yeah. Yeah. So just thank that sadness for sharing that wisdom to keep on going, wears me down, tired of being small. And now that we've heard and we've understood this sadness, the real question is, does this sadness in the gut mean I am not who I want to be?
No,
Are you sure?
yes.
Oh, cool. All right. That was easy. So functionally, folks, what we're doing there, picture that the belief is this little orange, right? Here's the belief. And underneath this belief is a little cord, and then there's an anchor on it called sadness. And there's another anchor on it called anger. And that's what's weighing that thought. This thought would just fly away, phew, just like any other thought. All it is a thought. It's a snippet of language that occurs in the mind, but it's being weighed down by these emotions in the body. And so what we're doing is we're saying, actually, just because I feel anger in my head, that does not mean I am not who I say I am. And just because I have sadness in my belly does not mean I am not who I want to be. And then that thought loses its emotional energy, it loses its emotional charge. And so that's how you break the agreement. The same principle is we're the one who created the association between that thought and that sensation. And when we decide that thought does not mean that sensation anymore, you break the agreement, and then the belief loses its emotional power over you. So now, Wes, what does it feel like to say, I am not a schmibble schmab?
I am definitely a schmibble schmab,
Okay.
and there's no charge to that. So
Poor belief detected. All right, cool. Um, I'm a blue Q-tip.
I am a blue Q-tip. Nothing there.
I am not who I want to be.
I am not who I want to be. No attachment there.
There you go.
I had this thought when you were talking about the orange analogy, and it's like, you have that belief that's being held down by those emotions. But then I feel like that is even compounded by these other connected beliefs that are
Yes.
also held down by their own emotions.
Yes.
It's just like intensified, and it feels like the more work I do on this, the easier it is to let go of singular beliefs.
That's exactly right.